It's only 8:40 in the morning and it's already way too fucking hot for these horses. We started at 5:30 with the faster work first. And up. This is Azu Carrera, who I just rode down the bottom for a bit of hat cantering. When it's this hot, horses are pretty good at thermoregulation, but they need help. They are good at thermoregulation when we don't ask them to do anything. But if we ask them to do anything, then we have to help them. So showers are the order of the day. So she's having a shower now. She'll probably have another one around midday, because nothing cools off a horse better than water. As a matter of fact, it's the only thing that cools off a horse. That and sweat. And the reason horses sweat is so that they can dry and cool off. Their primary cooling mechanism is to sweat. Everybody has a little bit of an idea of the right and the wrong way to shower a horse, and I have mine. Start at the bottom so they get used to where the water is coming from. Obviously, she's standing on the hose. Come here. Don't let your horse stand on the hose. There you go. And the jugular vein is here. So this is the best place to get a horse cool quickly, is to cool this area here. Cool the neck, cool the big muscle groups. Some people like to avoid the back. I don't. I think it's absolutely fine. But what I do not do is shower their head. I've seen a lot of pictures of these horses with their eyes closed and their ears pinned back. They don't like to have water dumped on their head. The reason is, once water gets into the ears, it does not come out. So you can cause all sorts of problems by getting water in a horse's ears. So no point in that. Get the areas where they're sweating, on the behind the muscle groups, up between the legs. And of course now we have the flies that are going to come for the water, so we have to be careful with that. She could stand here all day. This is nice, huh? This is the eternal question. Scrape the water off or leave the water on? Experts have said, no, you can leave the water on. And experts have said, take the water off. I follow the experts that say take the water off. Once the water, cold water is great, it cools the horse really quickly. But once that water cools the horse, it takes the heat off the skin and insulates it. So taking the excess water off takes the warm water, the water that is now warm because the horse's body heat has just heated it up, takes that off the horse. So that's why we try to take the water off the horse as quick as we can. There are people who say you don't have to do that. But again, experts on both sides have said opposite things. So I'm going to go with my feeling, which is take the water off. Step one in handling the heat for the horses. Make sure that they always have plenty of cold, clean water. Cold, ambient temperature water. We're doing a last water tour tonight because it was hot out today. I don't have automatic waterers, which would be a lot easier, except that the problem with automatic waterers is that you don't know how much water your horse is actually drinking. So I don't mind filling buckets. We don't have that many. We just make sure we go around one before they go to bed, make sure that nobody's out of water overnight. Very important. Obviously the idea in the heat is to do as little as possible, but they are horses in training and they do need to move a bit. So we try to work as early as possible. And I'm not a morning person, which is why I have my cafe. My coffee, sorry. I was on a horse way too early for me this morning. In some places, obviously in Qatar and Dubai, this is the normal rhythm. They get up at 3 in the morning, they're out at 4, they're done by 6:30. This is what they do all the time. For us, this is not normal. We don't tend to work in those kinds of hours. So the training track opens at 5:30 in the morning now during the heat wave, and it closes at noon. People are way done by then. We went up to the forest to do a gallop at about 6:15, and it was already getting too hot to do it. So these two horses are out in the paddock, but as you can see, they're already now in full sun, so we can't leave them out for very long. They have to come in. We'll shower them both off before we put them in their boxes. Clarice is very hot, and she keeps asking me to turn the heat down and doesn't understand why I can't do that. But the idea obviously is to just do as little as possible, just do the strict minimum. Obviously, we want to avoid shipping any horse anywhere in the heat. If a horse is in the truck, it'll sweat and the air will cool it off, but obviously long trips in the heat are to be avoided. So luckily, we are not taking anybody anywhere. We don't have to go anywhere. We have a runner Thursday night at Longchamp. I have to decide whether we're going to really do that or not. It'll be cooler, so that's not a problem. But the problem is the horses spent 2 days sweltering in the heat, and that kind of takes a lot out of them. So I'm going to decide now this morning. I'll have to decide if we're going to try to run on Thursday night or not. The last race he had was also in the heat in Lyon d'Angers, so not sure what we're going to do yet. But obviously when the weather's like this, we'd like to do as little as possible. Racing really should be canceled, as they've done in England, and we haven't done it here. They've moved racing to the morning to compensate for the heat, but it's not even 10 o'clock in the morning and it's sweltering. I would not want to be racing in this, so really, not a good idea. Another thing that I used to use for managing the heat, but I've gone off using, again, because of this insulating effect. This is a skull cap. So you put it in cold water, ice it out, or even ice water, and then it goes, come here you, she doesn't know what this is. Come here, let me show you. Let me show you. And it goes on your horse's head. One ear in each hole, please. Right, and then there is a Velcro thing to clip it over the bridle. So we used to use these racing to try to keep the horse cool when it's a really hot day racing. And it's a good idea at the beginning, but again, I'm a little afraid, like I said earlier, horses have a really good capacity to thermoregulate by themselves. And we want to be careful what we do to help, because we can try to help and end up doing a bad thing trying to help. So this is cool when you put it on, but again, like the water when you shower a horse, it becomes an insulator once it takes the heat away. So if you leave this on the horse for a while, depends on how hot your horse is. This horse isn't doing anything, but it'll become warm inside. And so I'm not, the jury's out on whether this is a good idea or not. I've stopped using them, but I've stopped racing in extreme heat also. Go. And there we go. Oh, she's happy now. We are eagerly awaiting tonight's promised storm because it's over 100 degrees right now, sitting in the sun, which I will not be doing for very long. We've managed to kill even the bamboo plant, which is saying something because bamboo never dies. Let's see, what else did we not talk about yet? Let's talk about electrolytes. I am not a big believer in electrolytes. I think it's, in general, kind of a waste of money. If you put it in the water, the horse risks not to drink it, which is not a good thing. And if you give them a paste in their mouth, they will spit half of it out. Okay, maybe not half of it. You can make them swallow it. But I don't know. I think we don't use Lasix or anything like that that's really going to dehydrate them. We keep them hydrated with as much water as possible, drinking right up to post time. We never take the water away, so I don't really see a need to do electrolytes. Now, that said, I did have a horse run a race. He was fourth, beating a nose for third the other day. Its magic was in Lyon d'Angers, and it was a hot, long trip down there. It was during the heat wave. So when he came back, we gave him what you would call a jug. We gave him 3 liters of IV fluid with vitamins, vitamin C, vitamin E, vitamin D, vitamin B complex, to help him recover from the race and recover from the trip. That I will do if I think a horse has run, has excessively sweated or excessively stressed by the heat. It makes most sense just to give them something IV after the effort so that they recuperate faster, and that's a more sure thing than the electrolyte situation, which is kind of money for nothing, I think. Right, so this week hopefully the heat is supposed to break tonight. Hopefully it's going to get about 10 degrees, that's 10 degrees Celsius cooler overnight, and that will be much appreciated. We're still going to have to start early in the morning just to make sure, much to my unpleasant, I hate mornings. But hopefully for some of our runners coming up this weekend, it'll be a bit cooler temperatures, and we will see you next week. Subscribe, like, share, please. We need more subscribers. Come on, you could do it. See you next week. Bye.